despite the imperfections that we see in nature, we see a union between male and female in the animal kingdom that is not mirroring itself in the human world at this time. And the whole gender war strategy is to get men and women to fight to a point to where they destroy each other. And so there are aspects of nature that we've been taken away from, and there are aspects of nature that are less than evolved, especially when people take what they want or take the mate that they want. And I don't advocate that, but the union between male and female that's been disrupted is really a disruption against nature. And as we see this manufactured gender war progress, you're going to see more men and women breaking down psychologically, their body, mind, and spirit. And I do not believe that it's going to hit mass consciousness with the majority of the women on this earth, that this is all being done by design to enslave them. And some people claim to worship nature, and they claim to want to have a connection with nature, and they live in completely unnatural ways. They want those aspects of nature that will please them at that moment, but they're also willing to go against nature if they've been mind controlled to believe that that is the way towards getting something for themselves. So this nature of competition that's taking place between us, between the sexes, is something that is hurting all of us in the end. And many of the women today that are working are completely miserable when you go and you are a patron at some of these businesses, these bars, these restaurants. It's an absolutely miserable experience that actually, in reality, makes somebody want to stay in or stay home or not go out if they're single, to only go out when it's socially acceptable to be out. And most women today can be easily influenced to succumb to racist ideology and to be told what bloodlines are safe, what bloodlines are not. And a lot of them automatically react to certain people with fear out of a biological imperative to stay safe, even if the decisions that they make in life are actually decisions that will contribute to a less safe world. So the destruction of the strong, positive, masculine figure in women's lives today is being done for a reason, and it's not being done to better the lives of women. This is not in mass consciousness right now, even though we have all kinds of wild conspiracies. We have Democrats with wild conspiracies that it's all about the Republicans or all about white males, and we have the Republicans' conspiracy theories that say it's all about Obama, and we never had these problems with war, with the economy, with society, with the police state before him, and that's also ridiculous. So people entertain actual, genuine quack conspiracy theories, but the genuine quest for the true knowledge as to what kind of predicament we're in, humanity has completely missed the ball. And they've missed the ball so much that it's actually difficult to even bring these things up when even audience members that say they're awake succumb to that same gender divide. This is actually a topic that I'll be expanding more and more on as time goes on. But one thing that I have noticed is that there is a lack of organization on the parts of women in Western culture organizing against the injustices taking place against women in other countries, in particular at the hand of U.S. intervention in those countries, in particular that aspect. And it's because of that aspect that in reality we can see that women are not really looking out for other women, especially when there's a massive silence about the sex trafficking industry. You'll see very minute, low percentage of so-called even conspiracy enthusiasts talk about issues that relate to specifically how women are oppressed and hurt, and especially at the hands of the state, the military, or the structures we know in where we're going, where we are. So having a general understanding of, say, the New World Order and certain deceptions in the police state, if you're just still in victim consciousness as to what's going on and you're just basically totally afraid, and if you are assuming that if you were to step outside the box and speak your own mind that you would be punished, then you're still a victim of what is called victim consciousness. And that's not enlightened. That's not spiritual. That's actually where they want us. And when people are feeling the pressure and tyranny heat up, it's typical for people to revert in a primate-like way to gangbanger type mentality or psychology where it's us versus them, and those lines are clearly defined. That's why you see so many people saying that all our problems are the result of patriarchy, even though there are good men on this planet and in this society that have rejected those ideals, but it's because they have rejected that system and other related systems, archy systems, the evil archy really as a whole, which is really what's running things. As long as you continue to see men like that punished for who they are, and as long as you see bad men rewarded, everything's backwards in this backwards realm. So backwards, perhaps the pond should be where the sky is, and the sky should be where the ground is. I don't know. But there's so many things backwards in this matrix that we're residing in, I can't help but wonder. It's as if this is the dark side, but there's aspects of goodness in this side and within us to align us with the right path if we apply our free will. Unfortunately, the majority of the human species, of the human population alive today, is not utilizing their free will to make an independent shift in consciousness, and in particular in regards to their relationships. But there's far more than meets the eye when it comes to why the vast majority of women today are maintaining relationships with men that either they are dominating or are dominated by, ultimately bad relationships that are not serving them. It's all done through biology, through the physical realm of attraction, which I think could be shut on and shut off like a light switch. Because the ability to hijack human memory, human dreams, human sexuality, human desire, human perception is outrageous. And it boggles the mind, truly, how mankind, how womankind could be so ignorant to these things, the concept that we're not alone in this universe and there's something far greater taking place. A lot of people would just rather call the warnings that some of us are giving about the future and the present as fear porn or fear-mongering out of unfortunately, some sort of semi-instinctual knee-jerk reaction to feel threatened by information that challenges their worldview. Sometimes it's the ego threatened. Sometimes it's the unconscious way of life that they've been living that's been threatened. That's actually where a lot of people, a lot of men and women are coming from when they constantly look at the potential of a massive solar flare affecting our power grid on a long-term scale as an end-of-the-world event, or an event that just wouldn't or shouldn't happen in our lifetimes. There are reasons why certain things are taking place on this planet, and as I said in one of the last videos, if and when this massive kill-shot solar flare comes, I think that there's a higher, more divine design behind it. And I don't believe that it's going to result in the extermination of the entire human species. But things are set up now for men to be replaced by robots and for women to get their protection from this global mafia through technology. And I made a prediction on a recent Outside the Box TV episode that in the future New World Order, you would have a drone system set up, a panic button, if you will, so all somebody would have to do is just hit a button and the drone would come and rescue the person being attacked, hence replacing men in the society entirely with the comforts of the machine that knows where people are through their smartphones, Every day we read more and more information about this global database that's being built, Big Brother surveillance on a global scale, all this information being shared. So for years and years, these revelations have come out that the American people are being tracked and traced, especially the women of the society. And all this is being painted as something that's going to bring us more safety and security down the line, despite all the data breaches, despite the fact that it's come out that our own drone system can be hacked by our future enemies in the next Third World War, for example, China and other countries. And even discussing that isn't fear porn or fear mongering, because that's the black and white reality of what's taking place. And I'm speaking to you now at a moment where many of the United States' allies are joining this Asian Infrastructure Bank, this AIIB. And that's a total game changer for the economy of the United States. There's a reason why our names on our IDs are in capital letters. It's bond on the national debt. And so it's quite obvious that this debt is not meant to be paid off. The question is, how is that going to impact the safety of Americans down the line? We're being demonized, and there's far more players, I would say, in the cover-up of 9/11. But in the media now, it's all about everything America's doing and every other country basically being angelic. Meanwhile, most of the people here in this country have no clue what's going on. Anyone even discussing these things is basically the enemy and deserves to be ostracized, left homeless, left for dead. So there's this evil, dark type of attack the messenger reality taking place, in addition to tribalism, racism, classism, sexism, and other forms of isms not yet mentioned. And it's all being done deliberately to get us to war with each other, hurt each other, so we're more easy to conquer later on. This machine-like system, whoever's really controlling it, and I'm under no illusion that this is just about mankind, or this is just our own invention, our own Sauron in the sky, our own global database is just set up for our own good. There's something more behind why they track bloodlines, why they want this information, why they want to toy with DNA, why they want to alter the nature of man. And I would say that issues like cell phone towers, smart meters, electromagnetic pollution, Fukushima radiation, and other things are all dramatically impacting humanity to where we're seeing a lot of half men and half women. And when you got a lot of half men and half women hooking up, you're having a lot of weaker children and children that are more easily controlled by the state. And we are now in a society where the sociopaths are vastly outpopulating the empaths. And the true controllers of this world want a large population busy at work. That's why not all the jobs have gone away. They want a constant musical chairs competition realm where everything is on the edge of nuclear war, on the edge of economic collapse, but in reality, they want everybody staying very busy on the farms that they've worked very hard to create. They may bomb out or destroy aspects of the grid, only to change things up and make them actually look like the good guys, bring in world peace through their new United Nations, which is surely to come after the destruction of the old United Nations. Now, these ducks aren't raping each other at the moment. I've seen that behavior, but in this moment, they are foraging food together, and the male is watching the female. And this is what we see in nature, not just the barbaric stuff. We see the care, we see the compassion, we see food being number one and getting it yourself, connection to water, connection to the sun, a lot of time and focus based around the shelter. They're not on their smartphones, they're not on their laptops. They are not beating each other up with batons at Burning Man. They are not doing any Victorian martial arts or stick fighting. They haven't worked hard to grow out their beard and cut it to a certain specific way in order to distinguish themselves from other humans, hence the hipster apocalypse, which is really about the death of the tribe. There are so many people that have no tribe of their own, creating a hipster tribe and then creating outcasts and saying that you're above them and working with others in that type of paradigm. That's what a lot of human beings are doing here on the West Coast and elsewhere. But see how it's not just them, there's a pack of them. And they are somewhat of a community. And it's all based on nature. They're ducks. And they don't all look the same. But they certainly are working together as a unit. While humanity works together in units based on cliques, perception of races, everybody agreeing with the same political message. I mean, if you were to go down all the different boxes that mankind has created for himself or herself, it's in the several thousands. But as we close here, here's a duck that reminds me of myself and some of you, the straggler. And he may be following the group, but he's distant from the group for whatever reason. And I've seen this with cows too. I've seen this with other shoals of fish or birds. They'll be the one right behind. And that seems to be an aspect of nature as well. Not just the collective, but the 1%, not the financial 1%, the independent thinking 1%, although this would be more like 20% or 15%, since there's, not going to do percentage math here, but 5 ducks passed, this is number 6. I'm talking about you. You're it. Will the vast majority of women wake up to the fact that this whole separation was done to conquer them at some point in humanity's future by something that most of them aren't even aware of today? I don't think so. And I think that there's been enough information that's already been put out there that common sense would dictate, yes, the youth are being sexualized for a reason. Yes, we're going into debt for a reason. Yes, this manufactured Third World War with China could be very, very detrimental to women's safety, especially with the one-child policy that's resulted in basically a shortage of wives in China. This is not being said to create fear of any group or hatred of any group, but to look at the whole situation objectively and go over the cause and effect and discuss the trajectory and also speak from my heart as to what I feel is already in motion and set to come. There's plenty of time for people to change their ways. There's plenty of time for people to actually research and investigate and get outside the box of this really just being about the U.S. versus the East. This is a much more coordinated global agenda to destroy our country, and it's being done with our misleaders, those that have been placed in power. If people don't see very basic, provable things like that, how are they going to be able to understand the deeper spiritual truths as to what's going on if they're denial about the fact that 2 + 2 actually equals 4? It doesn't equal 6.78 or anything else. And just hearing that 2 + 2 = 5 would make a lot more sense than the numbers that other people are coming up with. The most important thing that we can do is spread the message and spread the truth to those with the eyes to see and ears to hear.